Today is the ride from Demir Kapija to Star Dojran. So there's really only three ways to get from Demir Kapija to Star Dojran, and two of them involve this highway here, which I really don't want to ride on. It's busy and there's really no place for a bike, or this other highway, which, yeah, there's a wider shoulder, but really not bike friendly, and I actually think it is illegal to ride a bicycle on this road. So my only other option was this dirt road that sort of parallels those highways, but is on the other side of the river. I figured that this would be the best possible route given the other two options, and it was a rough one. The road got progressively worse. First thing to do was get a nice breakfast. I went to this winery called Winery Maria. I had an excellent breakfast. They had this weird blue wine, so I had a glass of wine with my breakfast. Met this really cool guy from Kosovo. Ended up talking with him for longer than I would have liked to stay there, but you know, it's what you do when you're traveling. You meet somebody that's interesting to talk to. You can never really get that time back. I can always get to where I'm going later, but it's worth it to have the conversations when you can. So I spoke with him for a while. It was good conversation, really, really good food, really good wine. And then the next step was to find a place to get air. I had a flat the previous day, used the CO2 cartridge to get back up and running. But the CO2 cartridge, one, doesn't get the tire to the correct pressure, especially with all the weight that I have on the bike. And two, the CO2 dissipates quite quickly, so I really wanted to replace it with air. So that was my first goal, was to hunt around for a place that had air. I found a tire shop online, finally tracked it down. An unexpected person came to the door. Well, somebody that I expected, but not in the state that I expected. So that was a bit odd. I stopped at a tire shop to get some air because I only had CO2 in it from yesterday, and the CO2 doesn't quite get to the pressure that I would like. I got some air, let the CO2 out, should be all good to go. But the guy who answered the door was like shirtless, shoeless, just covered in crumbs, had crumbs all over his mouth, all over his hands, didn't even bother to wipe them. Then he's like, "Oh, we have to do a shot of rakia, we have to do a shot of rakia." And then he kept trying to get me to buy the rakia, and it's like, dude, I have no room, my bags are packed. I've already got 2 bottles of rakia. And he's like, "Oh, you want to buy? And then he just like froze for a second. It's like, oh, okay, this is a bit awkward. Maybe I shouldn't be drinking your rakia, but I also didn't want to be disrespectful for somebody to just help me out for free. But yeah, that was a bit odd. So now I just follow this road for quite some time until we cross the bridge and get to a town. About 15 miles or so to get to that town, so let's crush it. Once I got my tire pressure squared away, then I really began the longest portion of the ride. It started out quite nice, a narrow but paved road, and through a nice little canyon, and as soon as I got out of the canyon, it was very foresty. I knew that at some point the road was going to become considerably rougher. It was something I was already well aware of. And my bike is, the bike that I built for this ride is kind of made for it. It's not quite like a mountain bike, but it's a road bike with beefier tires and more clearance and a lot more sturdy components. So, what they consider a gravel bike, which is really just a beefed up road bike or an antiquated mountain bike, depends on how you look at it. So I knew it was going to handle it, but yeah, things got a little bit rough as time went on. The first few miles of this dirt road were actually pretty chill. Yeah, it was a dirt road, but it wasn't exceptionally rough. The loose material on top wasn't very deep. It was just sort of your regular everyday dirt road. Nothing even like a traditional road bike couldn't handle in a pinch. Yeah, it really wasn't bad. The scenery was cool, where you could actually see the river. There was a lot of trees everywhere. Quite a few people out there camping, doing things like that, parking along this road and walking down to the river to do some fishing. You know, stuff that people all over the world do near rivers and country dirt roads that are a little more secluded like this do. It's pretty standard fare worldwide. There were also a few buildings, not really sure what they were for out there. I'm guessing that it serviced the railroad because there was the dirt road that I'm on, and then to the left of that was the railroad track, and to the left of that was the river. To the left of that was one of the highways that I decided not to ride on. At some point, I wished that I had just taken the highway that was on the other side of the river because there was more little places to stop at. But here it was just you're stuck. There's nothing. The only way to escape this would be to turn around or just to go all the way through. It was only about 15 miles, so I figured, I would just go. I really didn't need to stop or anything like that, but would have been nice to been able to stop for lunch or something like that. This was the safest way, so I just pushed through. There was also a few spots that I saw that were obvious, like staging grounds for further construction. So I don't know if they plan to pave this road at some point or clear out some trees or what it was, but it was there was at least one definite staging ground for construction materials. As the road progressed, it got narrower, more overgrown, and the loose material on top got thicker and thicker, to the point where some of the times when I hit a hill, I'd have to get off and walk, not because the hill was so steep and I couldn't pedal up it. I just couldn't get traction because it was so deep, and it's like riding onto the beach where it just slows you down instantly in the sand and you can't really do anything to fight it. Eventually I ran into 3 people on the trail. A very nice Macedonian man and 2 kids from Afghanistan who were on bikes that I wouldn't really trust to ride long distances, with seemingly all of their possessions strapped to the bikes themselves. From what I could gather, it sounded like they were headed to Austria. Let's just hope that they don't go through Serbia, because that Serbian border, yeah, that was good. That was pretty rough. They had 2 layers of fence, razor wire all over the place. They had cameras everywhere. Be a really, really tough border to not go through the official channels on. And given the way that I think this was going, I don't think they wanted to go through the official border channels until they got to a place like Austria or something like that, where they could apply for whatever asylum that they could apply for.
I help these guys because they are going to Austria. But
To Austria?
No, I don't know the migration, but I am traveling.
Do you need tools?
No, I have everything. They have nothing, I have everything. So.
Okay.
Oh, have a nice trip.
I've got patches, pump.
Yes, I will help.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to Austria?
Hmm?
Austria?
Ready?
Austria.
No.
Where you?
But where?
What?
Where are you going? Good. I'm gonna come out there. Nigarit.
I'm not sure if Serbia really dabbles with the immigrant asylum claims as kindly as a place like Austria would. I offered to help with whatever tools or materials that I had with me, but it seemed like the Macedonian dude had everything pretty much squared away. Everything he needed to at least get these boys back on the road. I had quite a few more miles of just pushing pedals and trying to get through it. I would be lying if I said that I wasn't sort of hitting a point of frustration with the dirt road. Yes, it is gravel. Yes, I am on a gravel bike, but I just riding on very rough terrain on essentially a beefed up road bike. Oh, it's just not fun. Maybe it's the fact that I also ride mountain bikes, and tackling something like this on, my Yeti would be a little more pleasurable, a lot more pleasurable. So all it was just keep pushing through, and every time I turned a corner, I was just, praying that I saw the end of this road. It is very similar to like a long hike or like climbing a mountain, where every time you can't see past the immediate point that you're looking at, and you're like, all right, as soon as I get to the top, please be the top, please be the top. And it really never quite is the exact top. So it was quite a few more miles of that, sort of the false peak equivalent of cycling. And I was definitely getting a little frustrated by the end. Eventually, I saw the concrete road, the road that I was able to take to cross over the bridge, over the river, and back to the road that was going to take me to Star Dojran, back to smooth, easy riding. So that was lovely to see. As soon as I hit that, though, right on the corner, there was a vineyard, and the guy who owned the vineyard, presumably, had his pet donkey that he was using to mow the underbrush. So the donkey was getting a nice little meal. The guy was getting all the undergrowth from his vineyard mowed, and I really like donkeys. My wife has 2 of them, and they're really cool animals. So it's a donkey. Look at him. Look at him. Cute. That's all I got for you guys on this one. This is part 1 of this ride, since it was a little longer, a little more stuff happened, and yeah, I'll be releasing the second part of this as soon as I can. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.